Okay, anyways, I think that it was a preemptive strike to go to the war on terrorism that the U.S. has supposedly done. And the reason I think that is because immediately following the 9/11 attack or whatever, President Bush and the UN, they were all getting together, and the UN said, we should hold off or whatever. But President Bush was like, oh, I'm going to go. And he decides to declare war on like September 15th or something against terrorism. The problem with that is terrorism is an abstract concept. It's an abstract thing. You can't just take hold of it because people can move from one country to another. So if you're trying to stop terrorism, you're not going to be able to do it by simply going to war with a nation. Because as we found out, the people were learning how to fly the planes that crashed into the World Trade Centers within the U.S. So it didn't actually make sense to go, oh, we must go against Afghanistan.
How would you handle terrorism?
Yeah, well, I'm going to finish answering the question, and then I'll go to that one. Yeah, and then the other thing was when he decided to do the war in Iraq, the UN was doing an investigation. They were in the land peacefully investigating whether there were nuclear weapons or not. They had set a specific date for Iraq to leave things open for them to go and investigate in. Before that date was up though, or had come, President Bush decides to go and do his own war or whatever. So he basically tried to trump the UN, which I think is personally disrespectful to all the nations who are in the UN and who oppose what he was doing. So, it was a preemptive. Yeah, I agree. I think it was an illegal war. It was preemptive, as the other speaker was saying, because it wasn't it was before even the set deadline. And I don't think it was wise because it was jumping to violence when there was peace and people didn't have to be getting killed. Civilians weren't getting killed through warfare. And so that's why, I just don't agree with his choice to go to war at that time. And then in response to how would I have dealt with terrorism, I think, it's the whole, a lot of it is networks and stuff. And I don't think that you're just going to find it in one nation, though. And so, but part of it is understanding the people who are the terrorists. We had someone speak at the college I go to, Houghton College, and he was talking, he used to be part of the terrorist type of group, and he was saying that terrorists of that sort, they enjoy it when people respond with violence. So when you respond back with violence, it actually instigates them to go into terrorist action more. And so if we had understood the culture and if we had taken the time to actually listen to the lessons of the culture, I think that part of the thing would be not to have responded violently, but in some other way. So, yeah.
Yeah, you can never, you're right, the fact that terrorism is an abstract sort of concept, the so-called war on terror can go on forever because you can always say, oh, there's still one or two network cells somewhere, and as if that's the justification to continue to invade countries, which isn't a sensible way to try and deal with it anyway, you're right. I mean, America's intervention over many years in the Middle East, in support of Israel against, Palestinians, things like that. Obviously, that sort of had an impact in shaping the sort of hatred or the people's, dissatisfaction with America, But yes, by going there and then so-called enforcing a new democracy on them or whatever, that's still not going to turn around, is it?
Yeah, and I don't think democracy is culturally relevant for every culture or every nation.
Yeah.
I think it could be a brilliant concept and stuff, but not every nation is actually ready for it because certain countries aren't, their culture is not ready for democracy because they are so patriarchal or whatever, that they're not necessarily ready for it at this point. And so forcing it on them is kind of bigotry in a way, I think. Go ahead.
I want to ask a question. I'm not sure what your personal convictions are, but how do you relate when someone tells you that America is a Christian country? Do you think America is a Christian country?
Okay, I personally am a Christian. To respond to that, I go to a Christian college, etc.
But that's not the question, though. The question is...
Yeah, but I was just telling you, I don't necessarily think that America is a Christian country, though. On the outside, a lot of people claim to be Christians, but I think being a Christian is more than just saying I'm a Christian because I was brought up that way. I think it's about a personal faith and relationship with.
Commitment, and the other is a social value where it becomes
Yeah.
a community event which can then be taken to mean whatever people want it to mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
I find that very odd when I hear America described as a Christian country.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Well, when they say it's a Christian country, I think it's saying that it was founded on Christian principles. Even though not all the founders were Christians and stuff, they were deists and such. It was founded on Christian principles. And so those values have sort of carried down through the generations and stuff. And I think just the difference in how I said, like, the difference between people fearing the church here or being weary of the church, it's not necessarily the same in the U.S. So, yeah. I want to make one last comment, I guess. Like, I think a speakers forum has the potential to be a great thing for people to build community and stuff. But, like, when it starts to be about mud throwing and stuff like that, calling people names and stuff, that really takes from the ability of this to actually work for the community. If people start to do that towards you, you don't necessarily have to respond in the same way. It's like you have the power to hold your tongue and stuff. And so I just like to encourage you guys to actually, choose to be peaceful and choosing to speak about your values and ideas and things. So, yeah.
In the United States of America, and she believes, I gather, in democracy, and this is what democracy is about. That's why everyone has a right to be heard, and remember what democracy means. We may have different ways, the way it should be expressed, and that's why I'm saying to this girl, it's a welcome to have you here to speak, and that's what democracy is. Someone said to me the other day, where's democracy? This is democracy. I'll hand you over to the next speaker, thank you.